Great. So thank you all for joining us this afternoon. What we're going to talk about today is revolutionizing software delivery with a cloud-native, cloud-enabled DevOps SaaS platform. We're going to look at three challenges that enterprises face when trying to migrate or leverage DevOps in, whether it's in their own environment or within a cloud environment. So some of these challenges, and there's a lot of challenges when you look at doing DevOps, primarily a cultural and process. But what we're looking at here today is really the tool set. At some point, you're going to figure out the cultural challenges, and you're going to move towards a tool set. And one of the biggest challenges is the infrastructure related to supporting your DevOps tools. So what I want to talk about here is really more around speed. So why is it taking so long? And this is not a priority. Typically, it's your IT ops team that is building the environment for you, but they have a lot of things to take care of, especially with respect to their production environment that's running your actual core business. And running a tool chain is not one of their priorities. If you've looked at the State of the Union for 2018, the publication that came out, and you look at the spread between executives and the actual team, there's about a 21% spread in terms of the executive view of DevOps within the organization and the team level view of DevOps. So when the executives feel that you're doing DevOps well, they're going to expect things to come out in a timely manner. But at the team level, things are a lot slower, right? So why is it taking so long, right? It's typically because you have a lack of resources, which moves us into the next challenge. Lack of resources, both at a development perspective as well as IT operations. So a research done by Forrester claims that over 10% of your development time is spent on maintaining the tool set. So if I have 100 developers, 10 of my developers are spending their time managing and keeping the system up and running and not actually coding. So what we want to do is help alleviate some of that. Lack of expertise, especially in the IT ops. As you add new tools, IT ops needs to learn how these tools run. They have to learn the security around the tools, the architecture around the tools, and this all takes time. Time that they don't have. They're already typically backlogged with just keeping systems up and running. And then lastly, integration. As enterprises continue to expand, a number of teams continue to grow as you add new applications, new teams develop. Each team has their own tool set. There's certain expertise that a team has and certain systems they like to use. So you end up having a plethora of tools, many different tools and many different tool sets across your teams. And integrating those teams together, or integrating those tools together, is very difficult and challenging. If I have to develop or release an application that crosses many teams, it's very hard for me to integrate that together, and let alone trying to drive metrics from those teams. So we're going to look at what iTMethods brings to the table in terms of a DevOps SaaS platform to help alleviate some of these challenges. If you look here, iTMethods is partnered with a number of the best-of-breed tools out there, and it's really looking at your tools, your way. So when we develop or deploy an enterprise DevOps SaaS platform, it's a single tenanted environment. So there's no multi-tenant, there's no worries about data sharing across customers. It's an environment that's built purposely for you that we manage. And that typically is the starting point in terms of looking at something in the cloud. Things have to be dedicated to me, and that's what we're building here. At that point, it's also extensible. One of the big challenges is, I have a lot of tools already in place. So when I build an enterprise tool chain, how do I integrate those existing tools into my environment? Nobody's going to, the next day move everything into an enterprise tool chain. It's going to evolve over time. So being able to integrate and work with tools is very important. So, on our platform, depending on whatever tool set you're running, so for example, if you're using Jira and CloudBees Jenkins, of course, and GitHub, we can build that purposeful environment for you. And working with your existing teams on premise, we can integrate those teams into this platform so that current teams don't have to learn something new. They can use their existing tools, but leverage some new tools, maybe new technologies that are running in the enterprise platform, allowing them to enhance the capabilities that they currently have. In terms of feature set, this is a bit of an eye chart here, but I want to focus on a few things. So the DevOps tools catalog is really your tools, your way. So picking which tools you are currently using or which tools you want to move to from an enterprise perspective, we can help you build that solution. Security and compliance is typically one of the largest things we deal with respect to enterprise tool chains. There's a lot of rigor around the architecture, making sure that the architecture meets or exceeds certain standards that you have in your enterprise. And security, like how do users access the environment? How do we, as a service provider, manage the environment? And how do I know that my data is safe? Right? And these are all the challenges that we will work with your security team to address, and our own processes around securing the environment within AWS, leveraging all the security tools that Amazon has to offer, as well as the security tools within the tool sets themselves. Right? And then wrap that with certain processes around security and compliance and data loss prevention really allows us to provide a cloud-based platform that meets your security standards. Availability and performance, a lot of tools come with a native high availability, but because we're running in Amazon, we can also leverage the power of cloud. Some applications do not support HA, but we will take advantage of Amazon's capabilities from a database perspective or multi-AZ perspective and leverage that to provide you HA. We can also leverage multi-regions to provide you disaster recovery of your tools. Hybrid integration is important, and it kind of touches onto that last challenge is how do I integrate back into my data center? And I'll have another slide coming up to discuss that. All of this is wrapped with our managed services commitment to you. So 24/7, we're monitoring the environment. We're scaling up and scaling down the instances as you need it. So if you're running Jenkins and you're concerned about, well, I've got a number of builds that are coming and my builds are stuck in a queue because I don't have enough infrastructure to support and execute those builds. Well, with our system, we're actually monitoring the build queues, we're monitoring the CPU memory, the infrastructure, and we're adding nodes as required, tying them back into Kubernetes, and then notifying CloudBees Jenkins to say you've got new hosts that you can now leverage. And as your builds kind of finish off, we will do the opposite and spin those hosts down for you. And then deployment flexibility. We deploy the platform across a number of Amazon accounts, and this is just best practice from a threat perspective and a security perspective to kind of isolate your different tools. So if I get compromised in one area, I won't get compromised in another. And what that allows you to do is, really isolate different tools and being able to provide security to specific tools, and that meets some of the security and compliance regulations that you might have as an enterprise. Talking about the hybrid integration, so we run and deploy this platform in AWS, right? All your tools are running there, and then there's a thought, well, if I still have a lot of infrastructure in my data center. My target environment is in my data center, right? I don't actually run my target environments in the cloud, so how do I tie back? And how do I push artifacts from the platform into the data center? And this is where we have to talk about hybrid. And if you've looked at cloud, hybrid's always been a major issue with cloud. And either it's a VPN connection from AWS back into your data center, or if you have specific requirements around latency and speed, then it's direct connect, which is direct dedicated fiber that goes from Amazon back into your data center. And we would leverage that to integrate your on-premise environment into the SaaS platform. And it doesn't have to be your on-premise environment. It could be another cloud. So if you're already running in AWS, that's a VPC peer, pretty straightforward. If you're running in Azure or in Google, different types of connectivity exists there. So from a challenge perspective, DevOps infrastructure, we allow you to focus your priorities where it matters most, where you want your developers, your IT ops, your SREs to focus on the things that's going to be core to your business, which is your product or your application. You don't want them to spend time in terms of maintaining tools. That's not where you're going to offer value to your own customers. DevOps competency and skill sets. iTMethods is partnered with many of the best-of-breed tools. So we're a CloudBees Summit MSP partner, as well as a GitHub partner, as well as an Atlassian Gold partner, an Amazon MSP partner. So we bring a lot to the table in terms of expertise that your team doesn't necessarily have to go and learn today. It's definitely something they're going to want to learn, but we can get you to that starting point a lot quicker than if you're relying on your own team currently. And then lastly, DevOps integration. Integrated, comprehensive, and extensible. So the way we've architected the environment is to have a loosely coupled tool set so that you can add and remove tools as required. And things are constantly changing with respect to tools, right? There's always a new tool coming up that's going to promise you, it can do things better and faster, and you're probably going to listen and maybe run a POC, all right? Prove out the tool is good, and then migrate that or extend your toolchain to include that. And that's what we offer here in terms of a SaaS platform. The architecture is extensible so that you can test out new tools, and as they get approved through your own internal testing, they can be added to the enterprise toolchain. And this is also how you can integrate existing tools from different teams. So just because the enterprise toolchain says that you should be using GitHub Enterprise, some of your teams might be using Bitbucket Data Center or Bitbucket Server still. But the extensibility of this allows us to integrate different tools, even though there is an overlap between those tools. So I'm running out of time, so it's 10 minutes coming up. But if there are any questions, I'm glad to take any questions here, or you can come by our booth, booth 408, which is right across from where the Partner Briefing Center is, which is where all the chairs are set up inside the expo hall. But if there are questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions. So if there's no questions, then thank you all very much for attending. And if you have any further questions, or if you want to talk specifically about your tool set and how we can help, please come by and find us at booth 408. Thanks.